Hey YouTube, Brian LCS, thanks for stopping by the channel and this video, the Amazing Spider-Man number 10 review. Now, I did not have high hopes for this issue. This is a tie-in to the current mini-series Judgment Day, and I really had some just bad thoughts based on last issue and the crossover with the Hellfire Gala, but I was totally wrong. This might be one of the best Spider-Man issues we have seen in a long time. And so let's jump in. This is a John Romita Jr. cover, but let me show you. I'm going to jump in a few pages and show you. So just to kind of give you the background, because like I said, this is a tie-in. It says, the Eternals and the X-Men don't care about Peter's progress. They are at war, and despite the Avengers' efforts to cause a ceasefire, is now Peter and the rest of the world's problem. The ancient celestial, the prognator, I messed that. The prognator has been revealed, and he has given all humanity 24 hours to justify their existence. Peter's judge is a long-dead girlfriend, Gwen Stacy, who died at the hands of the Green Goblin. So it says events in this issue take place before A.X.E. Judgment Day number 4. So that's just kind of the background, the tie-in. I kind of thought that we might be a little bit lost in this story, but we are not. So Zeb Wells, writer, and there's a guest artist, Nick Dragotta, is the guest artist. So let's jump back. So we're seeing some news. So this is the beginning of the story. We're seeing some news stories about the whole world being judged, and people are kind of taking it one of two ways. They either don't care or they're trying to do the best they can. We see a man here trying to help a woman across the street, and then we have the newscasters, and they're saying, well, we can't, we can't be judged badly for just delivering the news. But then the female anchor says, I don't know, our stories are sure are violent on the average, and if we accept advertising money, aren't we monetizing violence? And so a lot of people are trying to deal with this judgment. And so we see Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he's on the phone, he's talking to somebody, he's trying to get a little bit more detail about what's going on. And we see he's talking to Iron Man, and there's a conversation back and forth saying, he's trying to figure out what's going on, because we see that Peter sees Gwen Stacy, his girlfriend, who has, passed away many years ago, but she is there to judge him. And so he's trying to figure out what's going on. And so nobody else can see the person that is there. It's a personal, person who's attached to, the living person. And so we see Peter here with his friend Robbie, asking him about, hey, can we go? I need a tux for my wedding. You said you were going to go help me out. And then Peter's kind of struggling with it. He's like, well, I can't, today's really a bad day. And he said, but you said you were going to help me. And he realizes with, Gwen Stacy looming there, that he really needs to make a good decision. And so he decides to go with him, and he's watching, Gwen along the way. After he helps out Robbie, he goes to see Aunt May and, to kind of touch base with her. And he helps out with some stuff around the house, and he reminds her that, he loves her, how much he loves his Aunt May. And Peter says, I love you right back, Peter, and I'm fine, run along. And we see, Peter leave, and we see that Uncle Ben is there judging Aunt May. So just, very, very powerful, because of the characters and what they have lost over the years. And then we see Peter visiting J. Jonah Jameson, and then obviously J. Jonah has a lot of amends to make because of all of the crazy and bad things that he's done in his life. And he's apologizing, and he keeps getting interrupted from other phone calls of other people that he's been reaching out to apologize to. Robbie Robertson, and a few others. And so, Peter makes amends with Jay Jonah, saying, "Hey, look, you're a good guy. You've always did what you thought was the right, right at the time, although you may have done it in terrible ways." And he says, "Look, I forgive you." And Jonah is shocked. He said, "Really?" And he says, "Well, thank you, Peter." And so we continue to see Gwen. Now, there's this kind of aura around her, so I don't know if that is kind of indicative of whether you're being judged, good or bad. And so now Peter's up on the roof, and he's saying he's not coming. And he's basically was hoping that this was a spot that he's met up with Ben Reilly before, and that he wanted to be able to, meet with him and kind of maybe be able to help him. He feels like he needs to make amends with, Ben Reilly. So we see, that progressing, and then we see Spider with Miles Morales, and he's letting him know that, hey, I just came by to see you. And Miles was dealing with Rocket Racer, and he didn't really need Peter Parker's help, but he went there anyway, and, and Spider-Man, Peter Parker just says, "Hey, I want to tell you that I'm proud, to share the job with you and the name." And so Miles, says, "Hey, yeah, you too." And so, Peter now is back home and he's trying to get to sleep. But, Gwen is just still there. And if you see, like I said, the aura around her is kind of getting less and less. And, he obviously cannot sleep because there's somebody, staring at him. And then we see the story progress. I guess this is the next day, this is still within the 24 hours. And so he's considering, he has to go to work, and then he's saying maybe we should cancel, and again, he sees Gwen, and it reminds him that, he probably needs to go. And then we see Camille Khan. She is an assistant a scientist who's working with Norman Osborn at Oscorp, I guess that's what we're calling it. And then, we can see, they're having a conversation, and again, they're kind of thanking each other and, saying, "I appreciate you." Again, we see Gwen, and now, like I said, the aura is gone. And then we come to find out, we see Norman, and Peter did not want to see Norman at all. He told him to stay home. And we see, Gwen's reaction when Norman shows up, because obviously there is a history there. She died at the hands of Norman. So, and you can see Peter getting upset. "I told you to leave." And he says, "Of course." And he leaves. And then, Peter makes mention of Gwen, but Kamala obviously cannot see her. And we see Gwen starting to leave because she was upset over the situation. And then we see Kamala with Captain Marvel, talking to her. And so she's being judged by Captain Marvel. So definitely a lot of different wrinkles within this story. And now we see, Peter telling Gwen to wait, that he needs to explain, that, she said, he's telling her, "I know you're upset that I'm working with this man, Norman Osborn. I understand. But he said, I know how you feel." And he says, "I understand how I'm being judged and how I've lived my life." And so he continues to have the conversation. And he's saying, I lost someone I loved a while back, and I want to do everything I could get her back. Not everyone agreed with me with my tactics. In fact, no one did. I couldn't find anyone to help, anyone except Norman. And so Norman, he's saying, look, Norman has been trying to help me. And, Peter is kind of pleading with Gwen that, you should understand this. I'm doing this because I still love you. And he says that to Gwen. And so now once he had said that to her, she begins to talk and says, "I see your heart is open, Peter Parker. See that it's full, open, and alive. I see it shines so bright. It blinds you and baffles you, the mind of the man. And so I judge you." And she judges him worthy. "And so receive my gift," she says. And then he's like, what is it? And then Peter. So Gwen is actually there, in person. They have a brief conversation. And Gwen, Peter pleads with Gwen, and just telling her that I'm so sorry. And Gwen says that I've sure missed you. And he's missed her too. And then she's telling him, "I'm leaving, Pete. He says he just wants to give us a moment." So obviously the Celestial has been giving him a moment with Gwen because, she deemed him worthy, and then she was gone. And then he's, Peter saying, "What a day." And then we see Norman in the background, and he's actually seen Gwen when she became, real life Gwen. In that moment, he sees her, and he's saying Peter was talking to her, and he kind of tries to pull himself together, and then he says everything's going to be fine. And then we see that Gwen is there with Norman, and we're to be continued. So, like I said, just an overall great story. It was not what I was expecting. I really thought it may have tied into the Judgment Day story, a little bit more and been a little convoluted, similar to the last issue with the Hellfire Gala, where we didn't really, if you didn't read the backstory, you wouldn't really know what was going on. But they set this up really well with just enough information to give you the background to make the Peter and Gwen story. Obviously a Peter and Gwen story is going to be meaningful because of the history with those two. But just the way they did it was really, really well done. Like I said, I think this has to be Zeb Wells' best work. He's been good. He's been more consistent, I think, than Patrick Gleason. But I think, like I said, Zeb Wells really outdid himself in this issue. So I don't know what else to say. Just a great issue. Let me just double check, see if there was anything else in the back. Yep. So we do see, the preview, and that looks like Hobgoblin to me. So, just an overall great issue. If I was giving it, I'm going to give it my rating system. I'm going to go with a 5. 5 out of 5. This is by far the best story we've seen that I've read since I've gotten back into comic books. Best Spider-Man story, I should say, that I've read. I read the complete Gleason run, 90 something issues. And this is by far the best issue I've read in the last 2 years. So 5 out of 5. Let me know what you think. I hope people are reading this. I really think this is an issue that's going to turn some heads and make people jump back on the Spider-Man train, if they have not been on it. So let me know. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Really would like to hear your thoughts on it if you've read it. If not, hopefully you enjoyed the review, and we will see you again with issue 11. Thanks for watching.